Sometimes you listen to a podcast and it feels like the host is speaking directly to you, but you think, do they really understand my problems? Do they really understand where I am in business? Because it feels like no one is doing the same thing that I'm doing. CEO, I hear you. I've been there before on my own. And on today's show, I am so excited to get to chat with Mary-Kate Morrissey. She's one of our students inside of Wedding Pro CEO. And when she came into the program, she'd been listening to the podcast for probably 6 months. And it kept resonating with her over and over. She was at a stage in her business where she was actually very successful, but starting to feel like the wheels were about to fall off the bus and really not sure of the next moves that she should make in building her company and building her team. And so she finally took a leap to join Wedding Pro CEO. In this episode, MK is talking all about her journey to starting her business and how she went about that, quitting her job and taking the leap to start her business, and then how quickly it grew and the things that were difficult for her as she started to find real success in her business. Things like understanding how much her time was worth, how to pay a team, how to pay herself, and how to know if she was profitable or not. And also how to handle the fast pace of growth that she was having inside her business. I love doing these student episodes because so many of you are listening and you're just like, I wish that I could just know if someone else has felt the same things that I felt. And I know you hear that in things that I say often, but getting to hear these student episodes is a real treat to our listeners. We always get great feedback and saying, I just loved getting to hear the journey that that person took. And so I know that you're going to love getting to hear exactly how Mary-Kate started her business, when she decided to join Wedding Pro CEO, and the things that she has had to overcome and the things that she's getting ready to overcome as she continues to scale her business. So let's get into the episode. MK, I am so excited to finally have you on the show. I feel like I've gotten to watch so much of your journey, and Katie and I talk so much about you. Just how far you come and how far you're going, like so many things that are on the horizon for you. And so I was like, I just want MK to tell her whole story to everybody, and I'm thrilled to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I want to just kind of dig into your story because, like I said, you've had so much growth over the last couple of years. And honestly, just in general, your company has scaled so quickly. And I absolutely love watching you go through each stage of your business and kind of take it all in. I think that's one of my favorite things about watching you do is you can see your wheels kind of turning of, okay, what's the next problem? What's the next thing I have to solve? What do I need to do? And when we give you those strategies, you're all in and you're like, done, check. Beat that goal. Now what's next? And so it's just been really fun to watch. So for everybody that's listening that may not know you and obviously know your company, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and kind of your journey to here so far?
Sure. So my name is Mary-Kate Morrissey. I live in Boston, Massachusetts, and my company is called MK Your Dream Day. That's where the MK comes from. I can credit my brother who actually came up with that name. I started my business in 2022, and before that, I have been in the events industry since I graduated college in 2018. Before this, I was in nonprofit events, and that's definitely where I developed my interest in events and planning events. So I started my business in 2022. This was after I had helped an old coworker with their wedding. They knew I loved events and they were kind of looking for an extra set of hands and a day of coordinator. And I absolutely fell in love with it. Her maid of honor got engaged a few months after her wedding and kind of asked me to do something similar. And that wedding brought about 3 more new connections for brides. So was not ever this lifelong dream to be a wedding planner. I loved events, but it kind of came about pretty quickly and naturally. So yeah, in 2022, I started my business and I left my previous job in nonprofits to really focus on this full time.
That is amazing. I love that so much. And it's so interesting, right? How you can be really great at something and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna open a business. I mean, did that feel like a huge leap for you? Because I feel like we went from, okay, we had these weddings and you got these weddings from bridesmaids, and then COVID kind of happened in between there. So was that part of the reason that you didn't necessarily open your business till 2022? Tell me more about that decision to start a business doing this.
Yeah, obviously, I know COVID definitely hurt the event industry for a lot of people. However, for me, with when I started my business, it actually helped me grow faster because when I started in 2022, that's really when events were picking up at a very fast pace. Weddings that were supposed to happen 1-2 years prior were now happening that year, and they needed a coordinator to come in quick and execute quickly. As much as it definitely hurt the industry in years prior with where my timing went, it definitely helped accelerate it a bit. But yeah, I mean, it was terrifying to start that. That was not something that I will ever say was a piece of cake and easy. I definitely got judgment for it as well. I mean, I was leaving a very steady full-time job to go do something completely on my own. Had obviously never started a business before. I had a business minor in college, but that was all I could really say about starting a business. Definitely scary, but now I can absolutely say it was well worth it.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, you're like, yes, that was definitely the right move, but starting a business can be so scary. I think it's interesting that you kind of waited out COVID a little bit, right? Because I feel like so many businesses popped up in 2020, but especially in Boston. I mean, you guys were closed for a while during COVID, right?
Yes. It felt like forever.
I'm sure. I'm in Florida, so we were closed for like a whole 6 weeks, but it was obviously very challenging. But my journey was so similar, and I talk about that a lot on the podcast, that I opened my business in '07, and then there was the Great Recession in '08, where it was just like everything was very, very difficult. It didn't hit the events industry quite like COVID. I don't think anything was quite like COVID, but it accelerated my business so much because businesses that had been open for years were really having a hard time charging the same pricing and finding the clients and things like that. Whereas I was like, I'm brand new. Like, I'm ready to take the business. And I'm sure that it sounds like you kind of experienced something similar.
Totally similar. Yeah. And I feel guilty sometimes because I'm like, oh, like it's obviously awful for the people that it was hard for. For me, I was brand new and I was ready and excited and eager. And yeah, it was definitely helpful for me with the volume of inquiries we were getting.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying, because never do we want to say, oh, COVID was a good thing. But we also, I am a glass half full kind of a person anyway. So I'm always like, where can we find the silver lining? Where can we find the good in, things that happen? And I think that there was a lot that came out of it where businesses were able to spring up, or new industries, or so many people getting to work from home now. Remote working is such a big thing. So I think there was a lot of good that came from it. Okay, so tell us about that first year, because I think anybody listening to this that was in business in 2022 knows it was like, hold on to your hat, like just hold on and enjoy the ride. It was absolute madness, chaos. I think for me, 18 years in business, it was by far the most insane year in business we've ever had. So as a new business owner, what was that like? You were saying you were getting tons of inquiries, but also you're learning how to run a business.
Yes. So like the event part of it and like making timelines and talking with clients, like was so great. It was learning how to run a business, and like things that I know I was struggling with that year that like now I think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, we've come a long way. But I didn't know how much to pay myself. I didn't know what to charge at all. Like, and now I look at how I charge for each package and the reason that number exists. Whereas in 2022, it was like, okay, I think that number looks pretty normal for what my industry charges and sounds about right. And then it would just magically increase with no logic behind it. It was a lot of unknowns, what it kind of took to look at the business side of things. I hated looking at numbers. And now I think I tell you guys, I probably look at numbers too much. And I'm like deep in your budget sheets.
Yes, I love it so much. Like MK's, sending us her budget spreadsheet, her inquiry tracker. She's got it all. And I'm like, I love this because it makes it so much easier for us to dig into, spot the problem, what's coming up. I think that sounds like how a lot of business owners start, right? It's like you just kind of start planning and start hoping it works out. You kind of throw a dart at what you should be charging. Walk me through this. So you mentioned that you quit your pretty lucrative full-time job to do this. I mean, how did you pay yourself in the beginning? Like, how did you pay bills and things like that? Or did you have a nest egg kind of stored up?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I did take a part-time job in the very beginning when I left my full-time job, and that helped me at least have something, but I took a pay cut. I mean, I absolutely took a pay cut to do this. This was not something that was going to just triple my salary quickly, and I had to really work at it. But in terms of paying myself from my business account that year, I didn't know how to do that until like the end of the year when I needed to see what I made and was like, oh, what should we do with that? Like I didn't have many expenses. I didn't have the softwares I have today. My expense was me and my time, which is a real expense. And we know that. But at the time, it didn't feel like I had many because I'm like, oh yeah, it's just me. I do everything. We're good. So I did have another job that was at least helping me pay bills. And then eventually we reached a point where I couldn't do that. That was probably a year and a half later, I think. And now this is definitely all I do.
Right. It's literally all you do, right? I get that. And I think it's always interesting because, especially when people are starting their business, I mean, it sounds like you had a pretty charmed entry into the market, which I feel like I did as well, which is such a blessing. But it's still, the question is kind of like, how do you pay your bills? How do you make this work? When do you quit your job? So I think it's really interesting that you went from full-time to part-time. I went cold turkey, which I'm not necessarily sure that I would recommend to anyone, but I was married. So I had a spouse that had some kind of income coming in, right?
Totally.
And so I think the journey looks different for everybody, but that's kind of why I wanted to understand, okay, wait a second, you just like quit your job and hoped you would make enough money. Like, how did that work, right? But I think that that's really interesting, quitting your full-time job, because it is very difficult to build a business with a full-time job, but then switching to a part-time position that would allow you to do both, and then eventually making this your full-time job is really, really interesting. So tell us what that looked like. So 2022, when I guess would you say that you crossed your first six figures in business, or what did those first couple years look like?
Definitely not six figures that first year. I did about 20 weddings total, which I remember finishing that year being like, oh my gosh, I've done 20 weddings. That's crazy. And now
that's huge.
We look at our calendars and I'm like, that's a funny number. But yes, I'd say the next year was when I close to doubled how many weddings we did, and as well as I think tripled revenue for 2023. So I think my story is a lot of fast moving things. I always feel like I wanted resources and help to get me through that, because I knew it wasn't necessarily a bad thing that was happening, but I knew that if I wanted to keep going and not burn out, I needed kind of someone to hold my hand. That's what we say to our brides and grooms when they inquire about full service planning. And I was like, I need someone to hold my hand through what I'm going through here.
Isn't that so funny? I liken what we do here in Wedding Pro CEO to wedding planning so often, because I'm like, it's so similar. It's basically having somebody right there that's telling you, don't step in that pothole, don't do that. Like, here's what's next, here's what's coming up, here's what you're about to experience. And it's so also, it's so similar to the wedding industry. But let's talk about that for a second. So you basically 2023, triple from the year before. Obviously, you're not able to do all of those events. So I'm guessing that you started hiring team members.
Yeah. So 2023 was when I brought on my first 2 other lead planners. I basically was getting inquiries for the same exact date. And I was connecting so well with these couples that I was like, we absolutely could help you. Yes. And then I was like, but I can't be in 2 places at once. If I could be in 2 places at once, this is easy. We'll help you with everything. That's when I started bringing on lead planners. I'm very fortunate to have a great network of people in Boston that are in the events industry already, whether that was in my nonprofit space previously, whether that was in just the hospitality industry. And so I had a lot of people that were very interested in what I did and wanted to learn how to be a lead planner. So while figuring out how to run a business, I said, okay, let's also figure out how to train planners and show them what I'm doing. So 2023 was when I started training a team as well, a much smaller team. I truly had myself and 2 lead planners. Some of those we didn't even bring assistants to, which is just that makes me short of breath thinking that we were doing weddings with one person now, but that was pretty much the total of it.
That's so crazy. I know, it's like once you know better and then you look back and you're like, what was I thinking, but it obviously worked and it got you here, which is amazing. Yep. Okay. So we're hearing about this exponential growth. So you get to the end of 2023, you've got 2 team members, and you go into 2024. I'm totally taking a stab at this here, but also I know your story. But I feel like I remember this stage in my business. It feels a little bit like the wheels are about to fall off the bust. Is that kind of how you were feeling? Because I'm like, whoa, like on one hand, people are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like I want to scale that fast. I want that kind of growth. And it's also like, yes. And it feels chaotic, right?
Yeah, it's just different problems that I was facing. Like I talk about 2022, where my problem was like, I don't know how to price my packages and like what I should charge or how to pay myself. Like entering 2024, it was, okay, like I have team members that are really interested in this, and I need to make sure I'm focusing not only on our clients here, but like training a team and making sure they feel supported by me and that they understand our processes. Like that's when I had to start SOPs and like start writing out what we do, which like getting what was in my brain out on paper was a journey, like writing out what we do. So yeah, the problems just changed. And the concerns that would come up for me would just be different. 2024 was when I started listening to this podcast as well. I know that. And I would listen to all the different kind of issues you would bring up, and a lot of them were team focused, which is how I got to you. And I think one reason I kept kind of coming back to this podcast is in my area, there aren't a lot of planners that have large teams of planners. A lot of them are kind of solo, just them. They do all planning and designing, and they take on less weddings. For me, I was shifting more into a team and just kind of doing things a little differently. So I didn't have that many people in my area to be like, oh, okay, you do it kind of similar to I do. I was like, I don't see anyone else doing it like I do. And I would listen to your podcast and be like, okay, but Brandy is. So that's kind of where 2024 brought me.
If you're feeling like the economy is causing you to constantly get ghosted and need to consistently drop your prices just to get bookings, I have some news for you. It's not the economy, it's your sales strategy. And I'm here to help you fix it. I created a brand new free training where I'm going to share the exact strategy I use and I teach to thousands of wedding pros who have been able to double their wedding bookings in less than 30 days using this strategy. It's called the Assume Method, and if you're not using it, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. This isn't just another fluffy course. This is raw, actionable CEO level strategy. Whether you're new, struggling, or ready to hit your next 6 figures, this training will change the game for your business. But don't wait, because the top 1% of wedding pros aren't just good at their craft, they're good at running their business. And if you're ready to join them, I'll see you in the training. I love that the podcast was a resource for you in that. It's like, you know, where you were when you came into Wedding Pro CEO is exactly where I was when it all felt like the hardest time to run my business. And it's exactly why I started Wedding Pro CEO, because I was like, no one is talking to these people. It's like there's so much education for how to get more leads, how to market yourself, how to price yourself. You know, there's so much education for beginner wedding business owners. And I would say that there's actually, I don't know if it's education as much as like networking in a community, but for that super high and well-established luxury wedding business owner, there's lots of community networking, possibly education as well for them. But it was like this middle part where you're starting to look like the market leader in your area. You have a team, you have leads flowing consistently, but it's like on the back end, you're just like, this is literally being held together with popsicle sticks and bubble gum. Like, I don't even know. Like, I hope nothing breaks, right? Because it's chaos. And so I feel like that's really where we got to meet you, Mary Kate, was in that stage of just like, I'm killing it. And also, I don't know what I'm doing here right now, right? So I would love to know a little bit more about, you know, if somebody's listening to this podcast like you were back then, 2024, what do you feel like was really the reason that you felt like, one, I need help, and two, I really feel like this program can help me?
Yeah, throughout 2024, I've definitely been listening to your podcast. And I think the ones I was like most drawn to were when you were talking about managing a team, training a team, and just like having people report to you while also being a wedding planner and running a business. And like, again, like I just didn't have other resources or people in my area doing this. And that's what kind of drew me in. And even like knowing what to pay people and how to incorporate that price into a package price. Those are the types of kind of struggles I was facing that you were talking about on your podcast, which then kind of led me to reaching out to you guys. And I think also it was actually right after your summit that year. And I kind of was looking at all these photos and videos from it. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, what is this? Like, all these people got together and are struggling like with things I'm struggling with. So I have like FOMO for missing that year. But it's definitely what got me here.
Right after Summit. So that's so interesting. I mean, it's exactly like you described it, right? Like Summit is one of those things where all of these people get together and you realize you're not alone in the pain points that you're feeling, the struggles that you're feeling. And you're like, what are you doing about it? How are you fixing it? Like, how does this feel for you? And I think what's really cool about it too, what I've seen with you that's been really fun is that, you know, it sounds like in your market, you don't necessarily have that community because you don't have people that are doing business like you're doing business, but you found the community through Wedding Pro CEO because you've connected with so many of our students that are really in the exact same stage of business as you, but they're in different markets, which is kind of fun because they're not competition either, right?
Totally. Yeah. Been such a blessing. And even ones actually that are nearby, now they're friends. They're people that I can talk to and be like, oh, this is like a weird issue I'm dealing with. Have you ever dealt with this? And like just getting other people's perspectives from it is so huge.
I love that. Susan Sutherland is even one of the coaches in our program now. And she was my mentor for so long. And her and I have competing businesses in Orlando. And so I think it's just knowing, you know, your people and knowing who you can go to. And for me, it's imperative to have that community of people that you can kind of lean on because being a business owner is so lonely sometimes. And you feel like, I can't be the only one that's going through this. Somebody has to have already solved this problem, right? So I think that's really interesting. Okay, so you came into Wedding Pro CEO and you actually came into our accelerator program, though I don't think you were there long, right? Like 5 minutes.
I think I was there for like literally 2 days. I got on a call with Katie and she was like, you're not in the right one. We need to move you. I was like, okay.
Yes, and I think that happens sometimes because it's like, you know, we do have 3 different programs inside of Wedding Pro CEO and, you know, our accelerator program is really geared towards marketing and sales. I remember Katie messaging me. She's like, this girl's not in the right program. Like, we need to move her. And by the way, I think she's going to be a total baddie. And I cannot wait to get my hands in her business. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's get her moved. You moved into Inner Circle. And really the focus of Inner Circle is exactly what you were going through at the time, which is like, I really kind of mastered the sales and marketing piece, you know, mastered. We can always get better at it, but that's not the core constraint of your business. The core constraint is like, how do I build out this team? How do I stay profitable? How do I manage a team and manage a client load? What do I do about vacation time? All these things, right? So tell me a little bit more about kind of that stage of your business and what your experience was like in those first couple months inside of Wedding Pro.
Yeah. I came in maybe like it was a month after. So you guys were doing budgeting for next year, which was such a concept. I'm like, oh, I'm doing that now for next year when I barely know what's coming in next week. Okay, this is going to be interesting.
I want to just tell everybody so they kind of understand. Inside of Wedding Pro CEO, we do budgets every August and September. So this year we did them in September. I think in 24, we did them more towards like middle of August. And I'm so passionate about one, that you have to have a budget because I don't know how you run anything without a budget, but I did for years. I get it. We all did it. Also, that it needs to be done early because once you get into Asia season and the holidays and all this stuff, it's like all of a sudden it'll be January and you'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have a budget. So it is so funny because at the time you join, anybody who joins over the summer is always like, wait a second, we're doing budgets now? Like, yeah, I love that. Okay, so we started with budgets with you.
Yeah, I feel like I got to learn very quickly what my numbers were. And there were so many things that you or Katie were like, okay, well, how many like inquiries do you get? And I was like, I don't know. Like there's a lot, like there's a lot coming in. And so it forced me to get some better systems. I mean, I actually didn't even have a CRM when I came to you guys. Like I was manually responding to inquiries. I know. I actually don't know if I don't think me and you have actually ever talked about this. It was more Katie, but she had that same reaction where she was like, you're manually responding to each inquiry that comes in. And like, even like contracts, like my clients were hand signing them. I wasn't taking credit card payments. Like I was behind the times on a lot of things. So like one week in, I think with your program and after I met Katie, she was like, CRM is the first thing. Cause in my head, I was like, oh, that's an added cost. And she was like, look at how much time you're spending doing these
Yes.
things. So it was even little things like that I needed kind of a push on, where I was like,
Hmm.
no, I can do that. It's cheaper if I just do it. It's quicker or whatever. And I was like, no, we need to get some
No,
help here. So
it's
that was
definitely
actually the
not.
first thing you guys helped me with, was a CRM.
I
Crazy.
want to sit on that for just a second because one, the fact that I did not know this.
I
So if that's telling to anybody that's listening, like our coaching team is so phenomenal at what they do. And I love that Katie was able to quickly just be able to be like, core constraint, like, let's fix this before we even fix anything else. And
Yep.
a lot of what we do inside of Wedding Pro CEO is it's like, fix this first, because you could come in and if we just say, here's the 92 things that you need to fix, you're going to be like crippled by that.
Yep.
You still have to run your business. You obviously came in because you're overwhelmed. So it's like, we can't just dump all these things on you. It's like, okay, we need to free up some time of yours. So here's how we're going to do it. First step, CRM. Let's get that implemented. That's going to give you back this much time. Keep your sales going. Then we'll use that time to do something else. So I love that. But I think I can't wait to voice message Katie after this recording, because I'm going to be like, girl, how did you never tell me that MK did not have a CRM? Lots of learning points there. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, MK. Thank you for sharing that. So you came in, we got the CRM working, right? Which is huge.
Yeah.
And we were doing budgets. And so kind of walk us through that.
I think when I first joined, like I did realize like a lot of the issue is like my time is not being spent on things that like you always say a CEO should be doing. Like, and that was preventing me from doing what I was supposed to be doing, like responding to inquiries quickly and actually following up with them and being like, oh, hi, yep, I remember you, I'm here. I wasn't able to do that because I was manually sending contracts out and collecting check payments. So was wonderful when we came to this century and fixed that. And then it just turned into different questions that I kind of evolved to have. So it was about how to know when I need more team members. How many weddings should a team member have? The point system was like a jaw-dropping learning curve for me. It helped me feel so much more confident in knowing how long each wedding should take one of my planners and how many they can be assigned. Because I was always like, oh, that kind of feels like a lot. I don't know. Maybe let's have me take that one instead. Now I understand, like, okay, like this is how many full or partial service clients this team member can take because this is how many hours it takes. And so that was like, it was just understanding my numbers and understanding that there was some science behind the decisions I was making. Whereas previously it was like, hopefully this works and hopefully we're still profitable at the end, but don't really know. So just having some confidence there was nice.
Yeah, the point system is a methodology that I created probably 10 years ago now for my own business for the exact same reason you just said, NK. It was like I would have team members that would come and be like, I'm so overwhelmed. I have too many weddings on my plate. And I never understood, how can I know if that's true or if they're just not having great time management, or am I overwhelming them? Am I overpaying them? Am I underpaying them? How do you figure all of that out? And so really working through mentors outside the industry and then adapting it to our industry and saying, okay, this makes sense. We're not selling widgets, but we do have defined amounts of time in general that our services take. And so really developing that point system. And now, like you said, it's so great because it helps you to be so confident in one, how much can I pay someone? And how many events are they going to be able to do? What's my profitability on this person? And then also really, if they come to you and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, you can look at the number of points that they're managing and say, yeah, we've either overscheduled you, or I think we have a time management problem and let me help you with that, right? Which can happen a lot in our industry too. So that's really interesting. And I think I know when you came into the program, you had a revenue goal. So you didn't necessarily have a budget, but I think we all set goals, right? Whether they're set in fact or not. I don't know, like sometimes we just like throw a dart and we're like, this is my goal for the year. But you had a goal for the year. So I'd love to kind of know a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, my goal setting then was incredibly different than my goal setting that I do with you guys now, and was kind of like, maybe that'll work. And I did it kind of on maybe number of weddings, but not really like thinking about how much each of those weddings make or anything like that. So yeah, I had a revenue goal that when I came in July, it seemed high. It was like, I don't know if I'd actually be able to make that. And I think by the time September rolled around, was already at that for the year and ended up adding an additional 75,000 for the 2024 total of what my goal was when I came in. So it was a wonderful situation or problem, I guess, to be in. But just now I know I can look at our numbers and understand how to actually make a goal and not just pick a random number that I think might work. That feels a lot better now.
Yeah, because I remember, this part I do remember because I was working with you on finances. And when you came in and you were like, once you started hitting these large numbers, you were like, I don't understand how this is happening. Like, and what do I do? Like, do I just keep changing my goal? And I'm like, well, I think we need to just completely reevaluate your goal, because I don't want to say it didn't make sense, because I think it did make sense actually. Had you not joined the program, and you have so much drive, ultimately someone's success or lack of success inside our program or any program is their willingness to adjust, take strategy, implement that kind of stuff. And I will say, like, you already had a really amazing business that you're building. I think we were just able to help you add fuel to that and like really be strategic about how do I do this really fast and really well. And what I think was one of the biggest things that I saw you change immediately was, one, the CRM, which helps you to answer leads and follow up with them way more quickly, which then was driving sales, but it also freed up so much of your time so that you could be like taking more consults, following up, doing your marketing and things like that. And what's interesting is it's like before you came in, you already were getting a significant amount of leads, but once we were able to help you see, not necessarily that your conversion was low, but how much better it could be if you had your attention focused in the right places. That's the fuel that I talk about. It's like you already had a fire burning. It was just a matter of like, let's pour fuel here and show you exactly how to like create this huge bonfire, right? So the reason you had so much success so quickly was because it was really just about moving where your attention was being spent to the right places. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, now what? Like I have all of these bookings, which creates the next challenge, which is kind of what we've been dealing with this year, which is like exciting. And also I think what's interesting is people think, oh, once I solve this stage in business, I'm healed. Like everything's going to be good. And I think you and I even had this conversation recently where I was like, MK, if it didn't create a next set of problems, you wouldn't be growing. You know, this is the exciting part about it. It's also hard, but each stage creates new challenges. So can you share a little bit about that? So like you had this huge growth, and this year you had even crazy massive growth from that. Will you almost double your revenue from 2024 this year?
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's so crazy to me. I say it's crazy, but also it's really not. Like to me, it's also just like, I remember when I told you at the beginning of the year, I'm like, girl, no, like you need to weigh up this goal that you set. And even for next year, we've said the same thing to you, but it's because you implement so quickly. But what challenges has that stage of growth brought, or where we're going to next?
I think something that's always on my mind with our business is just making sure that our clients feel supported. And in order to do that, like making sure we have enough people to answer them and that my team knows how to support them quickly. That is something that I think is always top of mind. I think that became something I was always bringing up here because I felt like I was losing time to manage the team that was taking care of those clients because I was answering all of their questions. I mean, I remember, I think it was you asked for an org chart of my team, and it was the widest org chart ever because everyone reported to me. And I have like a core team of about 9 people, and then I had an additional 7 day of assistants, and all of them were reporting to me, which I remember giving you an excuse like, well, yeah, that just makes sense. I mean, they don't have that many questions. It's fine. And you were like, no. I think one of the big things you guys helped me with, I think this was earlier this year, maybe end of last year, I don't even remember now, was like making an actual org chart that made more sense. So not all of my planners need to be coming to me directly. There is a step in between that of someone that I have trained for even longer that now wants to do that for our planners. So that's been a huge help, not kind of having 16 people report directly to me.
Yeah. And, again, I think a lot of us do this. And again, goes back to like why I created Wedding Core CEO, because I just don't think that there's enough education for people in this middle stage of business where it's like, it's natural to think, yeah, I just keep hiring. And then, but at some point, and tell me if this is how you felt, MK, it's like at some point you think, I feel like I've almost created a worse situation for myself because now I have a full client load and all of these people that need my support as well, like all of these staff members who have their own clients and I have to help them or they're not gonna be able to work with their clients in the way that we're known for. And it almost is like, why did I do this? Like, why do I have all of this, right? It feels like an 8-headed monster.
Yeah. And I think, again, the growth was fast. So part of me felt like it was too quickly to have that many layers of an org chart. Like it was just a few years of kind of doing a business. Like I can't already have someone that is managing other people on the team. That feels too fast. And like, I would definitely let like emotions and kind of like, that feels wrong that I already have an ops director that is taking on different lead planners. It felt in my head like it would be too quick. But then we look at the numbers or we look at what I'm spending my time on. One of the things you always ask is, okay, like write out what you're doing in a day or doing in a week. And I would do that and be like, oh my God, like that's a lot of time with my employees that I didn't know I was spending. It's quick questions, it's quick Slack messages, a quick one-on-one each week that turned into a lot. Having the numbers and the guidance from your team of like, no, this is time to do this. Like you are ready. It's not too quick. I feel like one of the things I always brought to you was this feels too quick. Feels like I'm doing this too fast and that I'm not there yet. And that's like a common thing I bring up to you guys.
Yeah, it is a common thing that I hear you say. And I get it. Katie went through this too. Like Katie scaled very, very quickly as well. But I also think it goes back to what you said kind of earlier in the conversation, which is no one else in my market is doing it like this. And so it does make you feel like maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing it like this. And the reality is, I think for far too long, and this is something that we're battling with Wedding Core CEO every day, is it's like the wedding industry has been fed a lie, which is that you should be burnt out. You should be overwhelmed. You should be, working 80-hour weeks. You should be working every weekend. And the reality is that's only sustainable for so long. At some point you're going to burn out and it's not going to be something that you want to do. And I don't know a single soul that I've ever talked to that is like, yeah, I'm going to start a business and I'm never going to see my family again. And I'm also going to only pay myself like $10 a week and it's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? It's like, no one said that when you started, but we allow it for so long. And so being able to help businesses like yours be able to say, don't believe the lies that are in your head. Like those are lies that you're telling yourself based on the standard we've created. And instead, I want you to become the market leader. I want you to be the one that people look up to and say, I want to build a business like MK's. One of those things that we had to do for you is create that middle layer of management, which sounds crazy. It's like, wait, a middle layer of management? Like, what is this? But it allowed you to have this operations person who kind of steps in between you and the rest of the team so that they are focused on training the team, making sure that clients are being well taken care of, making sure they're getting back to them in a timely manner. Or if a client is having a challenge, like, okay, how can they help before it gets to you? That way you can focus your time on marketing, sales, and team development, which is what we talk about all the time. It's like, you cannot focus on 16 people, but if you focus on your 1 or 2 executive level, your middle layer of management people, and then they focus on the team, now think about how much further your efforts are going and how much further it's building the team. So I'd love to know a little bit about that. So we did create that for you. I think it was end of last year, beginning of this year. So it's been almost a year. How has that felt this year?
Amazing. I mean, I also think it brings opportunity for growth within my company, which I didn't think would be something I could offer that quickly. I want people on my team that want to grow with me, and having them kind of have this opportunity to now manage people and have planners come alongside them as they're doing their weddings for training. Like, I have someone that's super excited about that. And that gave them a great opportunity while also giving me my time back. It's been awesome. It's been fast. I'm not going to lie. Like, it started with that person managing 1 person to now managing 4 people. So it's been quick. And I don't know that I thought it would be that quick, but it's all for good reason. And if I had kept doubting myself that like, no, I can do it, I definitely would would have probably burned out by now. I wouldn't have been able to manage all those people for sure.
Yeah, I think that's true. And one of the things that I actually think is really fun, and I think what we're going through right now with your business. So let's talk about how you're so confident in making some of these decisions. I want to take it back to the data, because what we don't do, and what I would never want anyone to do, is be like, you've got a great cheerleader in your corner and they're like, you can do it. That's great for a little bit. But one of the things that we're even going through right now is we're planning out for you next year is really going month by month and looking at your numbers and saying, can we bring on another full-time person? Can we put another executive member of our team in place? Can we hire? Like, what does next year look like? And instead of just saying, well, you've doubled every year, I'm sure you're going to double again. We're looking at your numbers month by month. We're looking at what's already on the books. We're looking at how much you sold last year. And do we think that we can do that again? What are the marketing efforts that we can put in? So I think that to me, I feel like that's given you a lot of confidence, because you are so great with your numbers now. Like when we say, MK, we need these numbers to help you make this decision, you're like, I got you. Like, 24 hours later, you're like, here's 8 spreadsheets. And I love that about you, because it does help us to literally go month by month and say, MK, here's where we could have some stumbling blocks, but also, can you see how we get here? Like, this is why we need to pre-plan now. This makes sense. The data shows us it's going to happen. That's how I get excited when I get to look into your numbers. But from your perspective, does that give you more confidence in making those decisions? And how do you feel about numbers now?
Oh my gosh, so much better. I mean, I was never looking at numbers month by month. Like before I came to you guys, I would track what I had for packages and make sure that like I could pay myself and other teams, but like not anywhere to the extent of what we do now. And absolutely helps me feel more confident, and it just keeps me accountable for what we are on track to do. And I mean, when you're managing a team, you don't have to do that. Like that's not something that I can just hope for the best on. And it's something I take very seriously, is to make sure that we are accounting for people's salaries and pay that they are kind of working towards. So definitely helps me feel more confident, and just make sure that like I never want to be in a place where our team feels overwhelmed, or that we're taking too many weddings or anything like that. Like the numbers, like going back to the numbers helps me realize what we can and can't do. And I think there's always a fear in the back of my head, like, oh, is it too much? Is it too many? But when you are able to go to the numbers, go to how many people you have supporting those clients, it helps you feel way better about the workload and client load that you have.
Yeah. And two, once you put that middle layer of management in place, it gets a little bit weird too. I don't know if you felt this yet, MK, this year, but it's like you don't know every client anymore. And that feels a little wild, right?
Yes, I struggle with this.
Yes.
And
I remember struggling with it.
I meet every client from the start. So not knowing what color palette they ended up going with, like there are times where I like really struggle with that. And I'm like, oh, I have to go ask that person on my team what they ended up doing, because I am invested. But it's an adjustment to not be on every planning call with them. But if I were to do that, my team, they wouldn't trust me. They need to know that I trust them to do these things. And if I was on all those calls with them, they'd be like, what's MK doing? Like, why is she on this random florist call? So it's hard, but I hear about everything from my team, and I on Instagram way too much. My screen time for that is way too high. But like getting tagged in different weddings we do over the weekend, that's one of my favorite parts, is to see kind of it all come to life. So I'm still seeing them, but just not anywhere near as much as a few years ago.
It's a different perspective. I remember going through that and just being like, this feels so weird. I feel like I should know every detail about every wedding. And the reality is you shouldn't, and you can't. And as you just continue to scale, trusting your team and training them and knowing that they're flawlessly handling those weddings, and then getting the feedback from vendors, that your team is doing great, or the reviews. I mean, there's nothing better than that, right? For business owners. Okay. So MK, is it safe to say that from the time you joined Wedding Crow until this year, you've more than doubled your revenue, right?
Definitely. Yes.
This year is wild to me, what you're projecting to do. It's even almost double what you actually did last year.
Close to it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's so amazing to me because more than double when you came into the program and almost double what you did last year. And I think I really want to just remind everybody that's listening, no program, including Wedding Pro CEO, we say this on our sales calls, we say this in as much marketing as possible. It's like, we don't have a magic pill. There's no magic wand. There's no easy way that we're going to be able to just be like, oh, double your revenue. The reason we talk about it so much is because we have so many success stories from inside the program, like MK, who come in and know they need help and they're willing to implement the strategy. But at the end of the day, all of it is your business. That's why I love having MK on the show and walking through her journey, because what I want you to hear is that she implemented everything. And every time it would be like, okay, this opened up a new set of challenges. Here's the solution. Here's the strategy. Let's work through it. And then she goes and implements. But at the end of the day, if you don't implement, it doesn't work. And MK is so phenomenal. Take action, take action, take action. And I really cannot wait, MK, to celebrate that 7-figure mark with you, because I feel like that's just like, I know it's definitely going to happen for you as we continue to grow your business. And you're just such a go-getter and such an action taker. And I appreciate that so much. So I would say for anybody that's listening, that's really in the stage that you were in when you joined Wedding Pro CEO, do you kind of have any last words for them? Like if they're listening to this podcast like you were back then, what would you say to them about, where they are in their stage of business, or why they should really consider having a coach like Wedding Pro CEO?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I now can't imagine not having a coach. And I mean, we just talked about it being similar to bringing a wedding planner on when you're getting married. I think brides and grooms want their wedding day to go really well, and a full service wedding planner will help them feel confident about that goal. For businesses, I feel like this is my baby. This is the business that I completely started from scratch. Why would I not want someone to help me make sure that it is going well and that I'm not making too many mistakes along the way? I will make mistakes, and those are definitely going to happen. It's something that is so important to me. And now, especially having a team, like, I want to make sure not only our clients feel supported, but my team feels supported. Having resources there that make me feel confident in doing that, I mean, it gives a lot of peace of mind. Again, comparing it to wedding planning, like, that is what we want to give couples, is peace of mind, knowing that every vendor they book is a good idea and that they are staying within their budget. I mean, it's so correlated, because I come to you guys wanting to make sure, okay, is this next hire going to make sense for my business? Or is this change in our packages the right fit for what we're doing? And just having someone to talk that through is so helpful. And peace of mind is a nice thing to have as an entrepreneur.
It definitely is. It definitely is. MK, I have loved getting to know a few things about you that I didn't know. And really just kind of like recapping your journey again. We talk almost daily. I feel like we're in it with you, and it's fun to kind of see where you started and where you are now. And I'm just so excited for your growth, and really appreciate you sharing on the show for others that are kind of going through the same thing that you were. MK, where can everybody come say hi and tell you that they heard you on the show, and maybe even just cheer you on a little bit as you continue your growth journey? Where can everybody come find you?
Yeah, I'd love that. Like I said, I'm on Instagram way too much, but that is where we are, and where I personally am. So our Instagram is at MK Your Dream Day.
I love it. I love it. And we'll put that in the show notes too. So you guys go over, tell MK how much you loved hearing her story, and cheer her on, say hi in her DMs. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I loved chatting with you.